In our economics class today, we shall be looking at price elasticity of supply. And when we are talking about price elasticity of supply, we want to look at the effects of price on quantity supplied of the commodity. Firms try to look at this in order to know the elasticity of their products. In this, we shall be looking at the definition, looking at the kinds of price elasticity of supply that we have, as well as the determinants of price elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply. This measures the relative responsiveness of quantity supplied of a commodity to a change in price of such commodity. In price elasticity of supply, we are trying to look at the response that quantity supplied will have when there is a change in price of the commodity. That is, it examines the reaction of quantity supplied. That is, it examines the reaction of quantity supplied when there is a change in price. We understand that producers would like to know the price elasticity of supply in order to know the elasticity of their products. So what price elasticity of supply is trying to let us understand that if there is a change in price, what is going to be the quantity supplied of such commodity? Types of price elasticity of supply. Number one, unitary elasticity of supply. When we are talking about unitary elasticity of supply, we are trying to look at the relationship between quantity supply and the price. That is, in terms of the effect of price on supply. If it's going to be unitary, it implies that the change in price from P1 to P2 in terms of percentage is going to be the same with change in quantity supply from Q1 to Q2 in terms of percentage. Take for instance, change in price equal 50% and change in quantity supplied equal 50%. The price elasticity of such equal 1. That is why we call it unitary elasticity of supply. Now, whenever we work out the price elasticity of supply, I will have the answer to be equal to 1. We have the elasticity to be unitary. That is, the coefficient is always 1. The coefficient equal 1. Number 2, elastic supply. Elastic supply is another type of price elasticity of supply. And what are we talking about here? In price elasticity of supply, we have two variables: price of the commodity and quantity supplied of the commodity. When we look at the quantity axis, we can see from Q1 to Q2 there is a change, either to the right or to the left, but there is a change in quantity supply from Q1 to Q2 or Q2 to Q1. But when it comes to the price axis, we can also see a change from P1 to P2 or P2 to P1. There is a change. But we are looking at the degree of responsiveness that we are going to have. The degree of responsiveness that we are going to have, we call like this. The change in quantity demanded, now looking at it, is very big when you compare with your change in price. So when we are talking about elastic supply, it implies that the change in quantity supply is greater than the change in price. That's what makes it to be elastic supply. For instance, if change in quantity supplied equal 80% and change in price equal 40%, we will observe that the change in quantity supply is greater than change in price. At the end of the day, we are going to have elastic. How? The change in quantity supply, 80 divided by change in price, 40 equal 2. So, this is what we call elastic supply because the coefficient is greater than 1. And whenever the coefficient is greater than 1, it implies elastic supply, which is defined as change in quantity supply greater than change in price. The diagram also demonstrated that the change from Q1 to Q2 is greater than the change that we have in price from P1 to P2. I haven't seen supply cost to be what? Upward, that is upward sloping. Number 3, inelastic supply is another type. And what are we trying to understand here is that the change in quantity supply of a commodity is less than the change in price of such commodity in question. Looking at the diagram before us, the quantity axis Q3, Q4, the price axis P3, P4. Looking at the gap between P3 and P4 and compare with quantity axis Q3 and Q4, you will observe that the change in price here is greater than the change in quantity that we have here. So what are we talking about? For instance, if change in quantity supplied equal 25% and change in price equal 50%. Now, at the end, the price elasticity will be change in quantity supply over change in price. That is 25% over 50% will give us half. It implies that inelastic supply happen to have coefficient. This coefficient is less than 1. And whenever we get the coefficient to be less than 1, then the price elasticity is inelastic. The diagram has demonstrated that looking at the change from P4 down to P3, comparing with Q3 to Q4, you observe that the change here is greater than the change here. So that what makes it to be inelastic supply, where the coefficient is always less than 1. Number 4, perfectly elastic supply. Perfectly elastic supply implies a change in quantity supplied with constant price. That is, quantity supply is changing, but there is no change in price. Here, there is no calculation. So, we call the coefficient to be infinite. That is, the coefficient is infinite. So there is a change in quantity supply, but the price is constant. Perfectly inelastic supply is also known as zero elasticity of supply. And what do we mean by this concept? That there is a change in price while quantity supplied is fixed. Looking at the diagram, the quantity supplied is fixed, Q asterisk. The price is moving from P1 to P2 to P3. That is, the price is allowed to change while quantity is constant. So that is, the price is moving, but there is no change in quantity supply. So we call it zero elasticity of supply. Out of 5 price elasticity of supply that we have described, the first 3, unitary elasticity of supply, elastic supply and inelastic supply are the ones that we can work out with the help of data, that is mathematically. But when it comes to perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic supply, we don't carry out calculation under this. So the next one is going to be calculation with respect to price elasticity of supply. Calculation under price elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply equal percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Now let's define percentage change in quantity supplied. Percentage change in quantity supplied equal Q2 minus Q1 divided by Q1 times 100. So we are trying to find out percentage change here. When we say Q2, we are talking about the present quantity. When we say Q1, we are talking about initial quantity, that is the previous quantity supplied, over the initial or the previous quantity supplied times 100. The change between Q2 and Q1 refers to as delta Q over Q1 times 100. So at the end, we get a value that will represent change in quantity supplied. We come down to percentage change in price, where we have P2 minus P1 divided by P1 times 100. P2 indicates the current price minus initial price, that is the previous price, divided by the previous price times 100. We are going to have change in P, that is the difference between P2 and P1 refers to delta P over P1 times 100. When you find a value at the end here. So the value that you get represents percentage change in price. So at the end, the value you get in change in quantity supply and change in price will be substituted into this formula. At the end, you get a coefficient. So that is a coefficient of price elasticity of supply. So the coefficient can either be 1, less than 1, or greater than 1. Illustration. If the price of bottled water increased from 80 naira per bottle to 100 naira per bottle, and the seller increased the quantity offered for sale from 400 bottles to 500 bottles, what type of elasticity of supply has water? Solution. From our question, 500 quantity refers to as Q2, while Q1 equal 400. That is, the supply of bottled water increased from 400 to 500. So Q1 is 400, while Q2 is 500. With respect to price, P2, that is the current price, happened to be 100, while the previous price, P1, happened to be 80. That is, when the price increased from 80 naira to 100 naira, quantity supplied increased from 400 naira to 500 naira. We can now work out our price elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply equal percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Percentage change in quantity supplied equal 500 minus 400 divided by 400 times 100. Where we have 100 over 400 times 100. Our percentage change in quantity supply will be 25%. We can now work out our percentage change in price. Percentage change in price equal 100 minus 80 divided by 80 times 100. The current price 100 naira, previous price 80 naira, times 80 times over 80 times 100. And the difference between 100 and 80 we have 20 over 80 times 100. So we have 100 over 4, and we have the percentage to be 25%. That is, percentage change in price equals 25%. Having gotten our percentage change in price and percentage change in quantity supply, we can now substitute into the formula price elasticity of supply, which implies that percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. Our percentage change in quantity supply indicates 25%, while percentage change in price also indicates 25%. And at the end, we have 1 to be the answer. So, the price elasticity of supply is 1. And what type of price elasticity of supply is this? We have demonstrated the types, where we have unitary elasticity of supply, elastic supply, inelastic supply, perfectly elastic, and perfectly inelastic supply. So we said the one that is always have the coefficient to be 1 refers to as unitary elasticity of supply, because we said the coefficient is always 1. Not by approximation, by whole number. So if it is less than 1, there's going to be 0.9. If it is 0.9999, it's still less than 1. But we have the answer to be 1.999 is not 1, it's greater than 1. So in price elasticity of supply, we have unitary, where the coefficient is always 1. We have elastic, which is always greater than 1. And we have inelastic, which is always less than 1. So by our calculation, using the data before us, it means the coefficient is 1, where the price elasticity of supply is unitary elasticity of supply. So by looking at our question, it implies that bottled water has unitary elasticity of supply. Bottled water has unitary elasticity of supply. Determinants of price elasticity of supply. Number 1, durability of the product. If the product is a durable one, the elasticity of supply of such product will be elastic, because it can be kept till when consumers are in need. So it will ensure elastic demand. That is, durability of the product tends to be elastic in nature. But if the product is perishable, then the elasticity will be inelastic, because the product cannot live for longer period of time. Number 2, market differentiation. If the product can be offered to different markets, the product will be elastic. But if there is only one market for the product tends to be inelastic. Number 3, ease of entry or exit of firms. If it is easy for firms to enter the industry, such product that the firms are into will be elastic, because there is no restriction. In that case, the product tends to be elastic in supply. But where there is restriction in entering the industry, firms will find it difficult. That is, firms will find it difficult. The product tends to be inelastic. Number 4, cost of production. If cost of production of a particular commodity is very low, the product tends to be elastic. But where the cost of production is very high, so the product tends to be inelastic. Question 1. In the above diagram, P subscript S is a supply curve for a manufactured product. It shows that A. When price is OP1, quantity is infinitely elastic. B. The higher the price, the greater the quantity supplied. C. The higher the price, the lower the quantity supplied. D. None of the above. The right answer is A. When the price is OP1, quantity is infinitely elastic. B, C, D, they are talking about change in price, but the diagram is telling us a constant price. Why B is talking about change in price, that is higher price. C is talking about higher price as well. So we cannot pick, they cannot be B and C, not to talk of D. So the right answer is A. Question 2. If quantity supplied is constant irrespective of price changes, the supply elasticity is A. Unitary, B. Infinity, C. Fairly elastic, D. Perfectly inelastic. The right answer is perfectly inelastic. Because perfectly elastic talks about a constant quantity supply with changes in prices, but others are not. Unitary has to do with change in prices that will lead to change in quantity supply. Likewise, infinity, and likewise, fairly elastic. Question 3. The cost elasticity of supply is a useful instrument for measuring A. Profit, B. Productivity, C. National income, D. Price index. The right answer is A. Profits, because producers try to use the elasticity in order to know the elasticity of their products, particularly price. How price will be used in determining the profit, because the difference between the cost and the revenue, we talk about profit. So they try to understand the elasticity so that they will know how their supply will be in order to understand their profits.